Have you ever begged your mind to shut up at night and felt it get even louder? Like your thoughts were punishing you for asking for peace. And have you ever wondered why sleep feels so natural for some people? Yet for you it can feel like a locked door that refuses to open no matter how tired you are. Welcome back to the channel. Tonight we are going to travel through a deep sleep story that is meant to feel like a blessing. Not because it promises magic, but because it offers something more powerful than magic. It offers a new relationship with the night. The main idea is simple. Insomnia is not always a random curse. Often it is the nervous system staying on duty long after the day is done. And when you learn how to speak to the nervous system with gentleness, breath, rhythm, and compassion, sleep stops being a fight and starts becoming a return. The second idea is also important. The more you treat wakefulness as failure, the more your body learns fear at bedtime. But the more you treat wakefulness as a message, the more your body learns safety. And safety is the real doorway to deep sleep. There is a story about a person who lived inside the same problem you might be living inside right now. His name was Nico. Nico was not weak. He was not lazy. He was not dramatic. He was the kind of person who could carry responsibility without complaining. The kind of person people relied on. The kind of person who could smile and say, "I am fine," even when his chest felt tight. During the day, Nico looked normal. He showed up. He answered messages. He did his work. He laughed at jokes. He made plans. He acted like a person who had everything under control. But at night, control vanished. At night, his body would lie down and his mind would stand up. He would close his eyes and suddenly remember every unfinished task, every awkward moment, every mistake, every uncertain future. He would replay conversations like he was searching for a hidden threat. He would imagine problems like he was trying to prevent them. He would tell himself he was just being responsible. But deep down he knew a different truth. He was afraid. And the fear was not always about one thing. Sometimes it was about tomorrow. Sometimes it was about money. Sometimes it was about being judged. Sometimes it was about being alone. Sometimes it was about death in the quiet way people fear death when the world goes silent and the mind realizes it cannot control everything. He tried everything people try. He tried forcing himself to sleep earlier. He tried exhaustion, believing that if he drained the body enough, sleep would take him by force. He tried scrolling until his eyes burned, because it was easier to be numb than to feel the night. He tried counting. He tried affirmations. He tried telling himself to relax like relaxation was a job. Nothing worked for long. The worst part was not the lack of sleep. The worst part was the shame. Every morning he felt like he had failed before the day even started. He felt guilty for being tired. He felt angry at himself for not fixing it. He felt jealous of people who could sleep easily. He felt like his own bed had become a place of defeat. And here is how insomnia becomes a karmic loop. Not in a mystical sense, but in a practical cause and effect sense. Bed becomes associated with struggle. Struggle creates tension. Tension creates alertness. Alertness blocks sleep. Blocked sleep creates fear of bedtime. Fear makes the mind skin even harder. The wheel turns. One evening, after a particularly bad week, Nico sat on the edge of his bed and realized he could not keep living like this. He was not just tired. He was hollow, like a candle that had been burning too long without protection from wind. He remembered something from years ago. When he was younger, he had visited his grandfather in a small town. His grandfather was not a rich man, not famous, not educated in the modern sense, but his grandfather slept like a stone. Deeply, without rituals, without panic. Nico asked his grandfather once, "How do you sleep so easily?" His grandfather said something that Nico did not understand at the time. "I do not ask sleep to prove I am okay. I let sleep come when it comes. And when it does not come, I still rest my heart." At the time, Nico thought that was just old man talk. Now sitting on the edge of his bed, Nico realized that old man talk was actually wisdom. Because Nico had been asking sleep to prove something. He had been asking sleep to prove he was safe. He had been asking sleep to prove he was in control. He had been asking sleep to prove tomorrow would not hurt him. And when sleep did not arrive, he took it as proof that something was wrong with him. That interpretation was poison. So he decided to try something he had never tried. He decided to stop treating the night as a battlefield. He decided to treat the night as a teacher. He opened a notebook and wrote one sentence. If I am awake tonight, I will not punish myself for it. He stared at the sentence like it was a foreign language. Then he wrote another. If I cannot sleep, I can still practice peace. That second sentence felt like a tiny window opening in a room that had been closed for years. Now, here is where the story becomes a blessing. Because the next day, Nico met someone unexpected. He went to a small bookstore after work, mostly because he did not want to go home and face another night. He wandered through shelves with no focus, until he saw a section on meditation and mind training. He picked up a thin book that was not flashy. The cover was simple. The title was about calming the mind and letting go of fear. He flipped through a few pages. The words were calm, almost too calm. He felt irritated, because irritated people get annoyed at peace. Peace feels unfamiliar. Peace feels like losing vigilance. Then he heard a voice behind him. If you want the mind to be quiet, do not shout at it. He turned and saw an older woman, maybe in her late 60s, holding a stack of books. She had the kind of face that looked like it had cried and laughed and survived, and then learned how to breathe again. Nico gave a polite smile. He said he did not mean to be loud. She laughed softly and said she was not talking about the store. She was talking about your eyes. Your eyes look like they have been arguing with themselves for a long time. Nico felt exposed, but something in her own felt safe. Not judging, just seeing. He admitted he had insomnia. The woman nodded as if insomnia were not a defect but a season. She said, I used to think insomnia was a punishment. Then I realized it was my body asking me to stop living like I was being chased. Nico asked what she meant. She introduced herself as Mara. Mara said, when you cannot sleep, it is often because the nervous system believes you are still in danger. Maybe the danger is real. Maybe it is old. Maybe it is only remembered. But the body does not care about the difference. The body cares about signals. And if you want sleep, you must change the signals. Nico asked how. Mara said, start with the simplest signal. A longer exhale. That sounded too easy. Nico almost laughed. Mara smiled like she knew exactly what he was thinking. She said, you want a complicated solution because complicated feels like control. But the nervous system does not respond to complicated. It responds to rhythm. Then she offered him a practice, not as a rigid method, but as a story he could live. Tonight, she said, do not go to bed to sleep. Go to bed to rest. Play a slow, gentle sound in the background. It can be soft music, a steady tone, a quiet hum. Let it be your companion. Then breathe as if you are telling your body, you do not have to stay on duty now. Make the exhale longer than the inhale, not forcefully, kindly. If thoughts come, let them come. But do not follow them like they are orders. Treat them like clouds. Return to the sound in the exhale. Nico listened carefully. It sounded like meditation, but simpler, like a bridge between the noisy mind and the tired body. He bought the book. He thanked Mara. He went home feeling skeptical, but also feeling something he had not felt in a while. Hope without panic. That night, the familiar fear arrived as soon as he entered the bedroom. His body remembered the war. His mind prepared its weapons. He felt the urge to do something, to fix it, to chase sleep. Then he remembered the sentence he wrote. If I am awake tonight, I will not punish myself for it. He sat on the bed and played a slow, gentle sound. Something steady, not dramatic, just a calm rhythm that did not demand anything. He lay down and breathed. At first his mind laughed at him. "This will not work. You are wasting time. You need to fix your life. Tomorrow is coming." But Nico did not argue. He did not fight the thought. He simply returned to the exhale. Longer out, softer shoulders, slower jaw, gentler belly. He noticed his stomach was tight like a fist. He noticed his throat felt narrow. He noticed his chest felt like it was holding an invisible weight. He realized something that felt both obvious and shocking. He had been living like this all day too. Insomnia was not only a night problem. Insomnia was a life posture. He kept breathing. Then, about 10 minutes in, something unexpected happened. He felt a wave of sadness rise. Not a clear story sadness, just a ache. His eyes watered. He almost stopped the practice because he did not want to cry. Crying felt like losing control. Crying felt like weakness. But the sound was steady, and the exhale was steady, and the room felt safe enough. So he let the sadness move through. He realized he had been carrying years of pressure without letting himself feel the cost. He had been treating himself like a machine. He had been treating rest like a reward instead of a need. He had been treating fear like an enemy instead of a message. He kept breathing. The sadness softened. Then another wave came. This time anger. Anger at his job, at his responsibilities, at people who demanded too much. Anger at himself for never saying no. Anger at the world for never slowing down. He felt the heat in his chest and observed it without acting. He let it be there. He kept the exhale long. The anger softened too. And then, quietly, without fireworks, sleep arrived. Not as victory, as surrender. Nico woke up later in the night and checked the time. He had slept for a few hours. That alone felt like a miracle. But the real miracle was not the hours. The real miracle was the feeling. His body felt less hostile. His mind felt less sharp. He felt like he had crossed a small bridge. The next day, he was not perfectly rested. But he was less afraid of the night. And that mattered more than people understand. Because fear is what keeps insomnia alive. So Nico kept practicing. Some nights he slept well. Some nights he did not. But now, even when he did not sleep, he did something different. He rested his heart. He stopped attacking himself. He stopped reading wake-up signals as failure. He treated wake-up signals as practice time. This is where the Buddhist teaching inside the story becomes clear. Suffering is often amplified by resistance. Pain is one thing. Fighting pain is another thing. The second thing is optional. When you remove the second thing, the first thing becomes manageable. In Buddhist wisdom, karma is cause and effect shaped by repetition. If you repeat panic at bedtime, bedtime becomes panic. If you repeat gentleness, bedtime becomes gentleness. Over time, the nervous system learns what to expect. Nico was planting new seeds. The seed of a long exhale. The seed of steady sound. The seed of compassionate self-talk. The seed of letting thoughts pass. These seeds did not only change his nights, they began changing his days too. He started noticing how often he held his breath during the day. He started noticing how often he tensed his jaw when reading messages. He started noticing how often he rushed even when he was not late. He started noticing that his body was practicing insomnia all day by practicing alertness all day. So he began inserting small moments of practice into daylight. When he felt stressed, he took one slow exhale. When he felt overwhelmed, he hummed softly for a few seconds, feeling the vibration in his chest, letting the body register safety. When he wanted to react sharply, he paused and felt the emotion before speaking. These small acts were not dramatic, but they were powerful. They were cultivation. And cultivation changes destiny. Because destiny is not only what happens to you. Destiny is what kind of mind you bring to what happens to you. If you bring panic to every moment, life feels like a chase. If you bring steadiness to moments, life becomes more workable. One evening, after weeks of practice, Nico had a setback. He had an argument with someone he cared about. He felt guilt. He felt regret. He felt the old mental storm building. He expected a sleepless night. He lay down and the thoughts arrived instantly. You ruined it. You always ruin it. They will leave you. You will be alone. He felt the familiar fear surge. His stomach clenched. His heart raced. Then he remembered Mara. The nervous system responds to signals. So he gave a signal. He lengthened his exhale. He played the same steady sound. He placed one hand on his chest and one on his belly. Not as a ritual, but as a message to the body. I am here. I am safe enough. We can soften. He observed the thoughts without obeying them. He let the emotions move. He did not sleep quickly that night, but he did not spiral into despair either. He stayed calmer. And eventually he slept. The next day he apologized to the person he argued with. Not with dramatic self-hatred, but with simple responsibility. The relationship softened. The day became lighter. And Nico realized something. Deep sleep is not only about night. Deep sleep is about how you relate to life. When you carry unfinished emotional storms into bed, the bed becomes a courtroom. When you digest emotion with awareness, the bed becomes a shelter again. This is why the story is a blessing. Not because it says you will sleep perfectly forever, but because it gives you a way to stop making the night worse with fear. It gives you a way to practice peace, even when sleep is slow. Now, there is another layer to this story that matters, especially if you have been struggling for a long time. Sometimes insomnia is also grief. Sometimes it is the heart trying to process something you have not allowed yourself to feel. Sometimes it is anger that never found a safe release. Sometimes it is loneliness that becomes loud when the world goes quiet. Sometimes it is the nervous system stuck in a high alert pattern from stress or past experiences. In all these cases, the approach is similar. You do not bully yourself into sleep. You teach the body that it is safe enough to let go. And you do that with rhythm, breath, and compassion. You might be surprised how much the body listens when you stop shouting at it. Nico learned to speak to himself differently. Instead of saying, "Go to sleep," he said, "Rest is allowed." Instead of saying, "Why are you like this?" he said, "You have been carrying a lot." Instead of saying, "Tomorrow will be ruined," he said, "I will do what I can tomorrow. Right now I practice peace." These sentences are not just comfort. They are rewiring. They are seeds. As months passed, Nico noticed deep sleep arriving more often. Not every night, but enough that he no longer feared bedtime. And once bedtime was no longer feared, sleep became easier again. That is the strange paradox. Sleep comes when you stop chasing it with desperation. One night, Nico dreamed of his grandfather. In the dream, his grandfather sat on a porch at dusk, smiling gently. Nico sat beside him and said, "I think I finally understand what you meant." His grandfather asked, "What do you understand?" Nico said, "I was asking sleep to prove I was safe. But safety is practiced, not proven." His grandfather nodded and said, "Yes, and when you practice safety, sleep comes like a friend, not like a prisoner." Nico woke up from the dream feeling warmth in his chest. He realized the dream was not only imagination. It was the mind integrating wisdom. Now, I want to bring this to you directly, because a story is only a blessing if it becomes your own. If you are struggling with insomnia, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not broken. You are not failing. Your body is trying to protect you, even if it is doing it in an uncomfortable way. Your mind is trying to solve safety with thoughts, even though safety is not a thought. So tonight, if you want to try a gentle path, remember the simplest practice. Let a steady sound be your companion. Let the exhale be longer than the inhale. Let thoughts come and go without turning them into orders. Let your inner voice be kind. And if sleep does not arrive quickly, do not punish yourself. Practice peace anyway. That practice is never wasted. It is planting a seed in your nervous system. Seeds grow. This is also compassion. Compassion toward your own tired mind. Compassion toward your own body. Compassion that refuses to turn struggle into shame. And this compassion is wisdom. Because wisdom understands cause and effect. If shame creates tension, and tension blocks sleep, then shame is not discipline. Shame is self-harm. Kindness is not weakness. Kindness is strategy. Kindness is the signal your nervous system has been waiting for. Thank you for spending this time with me. If this story felt like it was speaking directly to your nights, share in the comments what your mind does most at bedtime. Does it replay the past, worry about the future, or scan for danger? And if you have found something that helps even a little, a sound, a breath, a ritual, a phrase, share it, because someone reading your words might feel less alone tonight. Please subscribe to the channel, press like, and leave a comment to support these long-form calming stories. Until next time, remember this. Your sleepless nights are not proof that you are failing. They are an invitation to practice a deeper kind of safety. And when safety becomes your habit, sleep can finally return as the blessing it was always meant to be.